In this demonstration, I'm going to show you why some people can eat just about anything and get away with it. Imagine that this orange-colored water represents the food that you just ate. This little blue cup represents your liver, whereas this larger white bowl represents your fat storage. And we also have these two sponges, which I'll explain in a second. When we eat food, anything that is not immediately needed by our body will get stored either in the liver as glycogen or in our fat storage. This larger sponge represents a body that needs lots and lots of calories, whereas the smaller sponge represents a body that doesn't need nearly as much. This person can get away with eating a lot more food, carbs, fat, calories in general than this person can, and I'm going to explain why. If your body's like this smaller sponge and you eat a big meal, your body will soak up as much food energy as possible, and once it has everything it can use, the rest is left over. The remaining food fuel will now be stored in the body, both in the liver and in fat. Only a small amount of energy can be stored in the liver, and so the rest of the food fuel gets stored as body fat. And if we continue to overeat more food than what our body needs, we'll continue to store more and more energy in the liver and in our fat storage. Over time, the liver bowl and the fat storage bowl would become so overfull that it would start to spill out into our bloodstream. And this is called type 2 diabetes. The good news is, if we intentionally leave this container empty, then our body is wonderful at using the glycogen from the liver and fat for fuel. Leaving this container intentionally empty is called fasting. The difference between the smaller sponge and the larger sponge is that this sponge represents a person with lots of muscle. A body with lots of muscle is extremely effective at soaking up all the food, particularly carbohydrates, and using them so that there's nothing left over. Since our body was able to soak up all the food fuel without depositing anything into the liver or fat, we can go ahead and have some more food if we'd like to. This is why muscular people, bodybuilders for example, can eat lots and lots of food. The single biggest contributor to a fast metabolism is the resting energy expenditure. And the number one way to increase that is by building more muscle mass. But there are other ways to increase your body's active energy expenditure, one of which is eating more protein and fiber. While I'm working on building more muscle, if I want to reduce body fat, I can simply leave this container empty, forcing my body to go to the fat storage pool for fuel. And as I do this consistently, I can soak up the stored body fat and get rid of it. In this video right here, I talk about how easy it was for me to lose a lot of body fat by fasting through one meal a day and by doing some fiber supplementation. And if you go to my TikTok profile, you can go to the fiber and fasting playlist and learn all about it right here.